Bushcrafting has evolved over the years. Before the Industrial Revolution, it was actually quite rare to find nails, to find saws, or even to have a hatchet or axe was not the most common things. Most of those were imported from Europe. But after the Industrial Revolution, you have a wide sweeping array of new options for the outdoors person, in particular the bushcrafter. So depending on how far back in history you would like to go, it just depends on what tools you're going to select. So the selection that I have here before us and that I'll be showing in this slideshow is a more modern styling of traditional gear. All these items are going to be high value items. And I'm not going to name everything by name, but we should go ahead and jump into it because there's quite a few things to talk about. The first is your main knife. And I would have to say more knives is a very good place to start. And I think that the Cans Bull for around $30 is a very high value. The next would be to have at least some type of Swiss Army multi-tool, like the Camper 2 or maybe the Hiker 2 for doing more intimate tasks. The next is the Baco Laplander folding handsaw. It's very lightweight and very capable. There's saws that are much more efficient in their design, but they're also typically a lot larger and heavier. The next is the hand axe or hatchet. I prefer personally a more compact Fisher's hatchet, the 14-inch, but there's a lot to choose from out there. The next is the Ferro Rod. I enjoy very much the Light My Fire Army 2.0. And you can also, of course, select, if you want to go more traditional, a carbon steel striker with flint. The next would be bank line. I think number 36 bank line, having at least 50 to 100 feet of it, is a very good starting point. You have to look for the quality, though. There's not all the same consistency in different brands with bank line, so you have to kind of be careful what you buy. If you're not into bank line, look at 550 Type 3 parachute cord. It's a very common type of parachute cord that the military uses. Just make sure you get the nylon version, not the polyester. The next is a sill nylon or a wax canvas tarp. Obviously, the wax canvas tarp is the more traditional way, but if you're willing to go lighter weight, the sill nylon is an option. I would say to look at least a 10 by 10 profile tarp to kind of start out with. You may be able to go with something smaller when you build your skills down the road. Next is a stainless steel canteen with cup. This is going to be very important in terms of being able to boil water, cook food, and to store water if you're traveling through the woods. A bandana, I'd probably have at least 2 to 3 bandanas. You can use a lot of things with that particular piece of kit. Also beeswax. Beeswax candles, awesome. You can also use pine sap candles, rags for a torch, also headlamps. Even though that's not a traditional thing, because they didn't typically have anything like that back in the day, but just for safety, it is a good backup to have a decent headlamp with spare batteries, in particular, just in case there's an emergency. A compass, obviously, of your liking. Also to have some pine sap or pitch in a container for making repairs to maybe your shelter, could be your tarp or maybe your backpack or maybe clothing. That would be a more traditional approach. But if you want to go more modern, look at duct tape. A large stainless steel needle or awl. I think a sail needle. There's a few brands out there that really stand out. Some of those are handcrafted, as you can see on the screen here. Here's a good example of a brand. These are like pretty much handcrafted, and they are really meant to last decades of use. The next would be some type of leather gloves and mosquito nets, just basically having all the appropriate clothing, the right boots, the right headgear. I mean, just look at everything as a complete package. Do you have the right clothing for the temperature and the weather and so forth where you're at? Also, as a kind of a bonus item, but it's not a bonus for some people, it's kind of essential, and that's going to be a hammock. There's a lot of different kind of hammocks. That's up to you if you want to investigate that. And then lastly, the wool blanket. I think for most people, 100% wool blanket is the way to go. And I think military surplus stores like Army and Navy stores is one of the best places to get them at the best value. I think also in closing, though, you're going to have something to put all this stuff into. Some people go with backpacks, but if you want to be more traditional, you want to look into the haversacks. Haversacks are very simple, and it's almost like a cross-carry satchel, um, and you can get them in different type of materials. I think leather is the more traditional, but they have also wax canvas and many other options. So hopefully this helped you to kind of get an idea of essential bushcrafter gear, to get some ideas of kit that can be used in a modern way, but also have that traditional feel. I wish everyone the very best in their adventures in bushcrafting. You guys take care, and I'll catch you later.